Alright, ladies and gents, welcome back, and today we have this BMW M2. This is the new G87 M2, of course, and just before we get in and take it for a little drive, let's just quickly talk about the exterior styling, because I know a lot of people don't like the look of these. After seeing it in person, yeah, it's still a bit weird, to be honest. It's still a bit weird. Anyway, we're going to take this out for a drive. We're in the peaks. It's kind of cloudy. The sun's coming out a little bit, but the roads are dry, which is the main thing. So let's do this. So I think where this might lack everyone's taste on the outside, it definitely makes up for it on the inside. I mean, these seats are just super nice. Obviously, it's got the screens now, which I'm actually not always a fan of digital cockpits, but on this occasion, I've kind of grown to like it quite a bit. The screens are really good quality. The systems work really well. The steering wheel is nice and thick, and there's carbon fiber everywhere. So yeah, really nice with the new interiors. But anyway, let's fire this beastly 3-litre inline six that produces 480 bhp. No soft limiter on this beast. That's what we like. All right, let's take this out and see how we get on. This road is always a little bit dodgy, but as usual, the engine is warm. So we're going to start with this. Whoa. Okay, sliding a little bit there. This thing is ridiculously quick, but the traction control systems are absolutely amazing in this car. I'm going to test out everything. This is crazy, man. Right, slightly bumpy section here, so let's see how this chassis handles some of these bumps. It's very nice. I've actually been super impressed by the adaptive chassis control in this. Like, putting it in comfort really softens it up. Like, you can literally drive this every day, and then when you put it in sport like this, it's obviously a lot more tight. Some of these tighter bends around here. You know what, it sounds so good for a stock exhaust as well. This actually sounds amazing, man. Pretty surprised. You can definitely feel all that power at the rear end, and if you dare to turn traction control off, this would be an absolute animal that you'd have to tame. Even with it on, you can feel it trying to step out, and then the systems just step in and bring it back in line. The chassis is absolutely amazing in this car. I don't know how they've made this, but it just handles so well. It feels like the whole car is one, as opposed to the front end being separate from the back end, which is how a lot of cars feel when they have this sort of wheel length wheelbase. acceleration is just brutal. Oh, it just feels so nice. The brakes as well. When I came with the GTI here, literally after these few bends, the brakes started fading, but this feels like they're just getting warmed up. Try a bit of a standing start. Oh my god! That is absolutely brutal, man. Just mental. The torque just puts you in the back of your seat, and you know what, I'm glad we've got these seats for support because really need it. This is made for the track, man. This is absolutely made for the track. I think now the exhaust is really warmed up. Sounds even better. So smooth, it's so smooth on these roads. It's just, it's all in the chassis, man. The chassis, the setup, the electronics. BMW absolutely nailed it. You can feel it squirm around a little bit because obviously the power is coming from the back, but I think it's stiffer on the front in terms of suspension to make it a bit more agile, and then it's a bit softer at the back. But it just works, man. It just works well in terms of how they set it up. And the gearbox, by the way, which is an automatic, it's not a DCT, it's a ZF 8-speed gearbox. I actually think it's really nice. A lot of people aren't a fan of these gearboxes. They think that the DCTs are better. In terms of shift time, I don't notice a difference at all. It's probably milliseconds difference, if anything. And it's a bit smoother when you're in the lower revs and coming to a stop. Oh, God. That traction control system is, you know what it is? It doesn't feel like it's cutting the power. You don't notice like a sudden drop of power, but oh, my seatbelt's stuck. But it is obviously controlling the power. You just can't really tell. I think as soon as it starts to step out, it just cuts in. Right, now that the crazy bit's over, let's actually talk about the car a little bit. So some of the weird things that I found with it, I'll be honest, the steering is very strange. So if you're used to typical hydraulic systems, this is obviously an electronic power steering system. It just feels really weird. I mean, I know this is obvious, but it doesn't feel like it's connected to the wheels exactly. Don't get me wrong, it still turns very quickly, it's really responsive, but it just doesn't feel the same as a hydraulic system. And I think I've pinned down one of the particular things that I find really strange, and is when you turn slightly, the steering wheel kind of gets stuck in that position and it doesn't really go back to the center very easily. So yeah, like you'll turn slightly and it kind of gets stuck in that position, which is a strange feeling because usually when you turn, see that? It just kind of carries on turning, whereas usually when you turn in a car, the wheels straighten themselves out again and the steering wheel centers itself. So that is just a weird thing that you have to get used to, that it just carries on turning left. Also, it feels like there's slightly weird, uneven bits of resistance as you're turning through the cycle. It's not completely smooth the whole way. So it is something weird that you have to get used to. But again, I think this is the way a lot of cars are going now. So once you get used to it, I'm sure it'll become quite normal, to be honest. You see here with the gearbox coming to a stop, it's just super smooth because it is an automatic with a torque converter. It's not a DCT. You don't feel it going down the gears and going clunk, clunk, clunk. It just kind of comes to like a smooth stop. Almost feels electric. I actually think I prefer, if the gearbox is set up this well, I actually prefer the automatic than the DCT. It's just a lot smoother in that first to second gear transition, whereas in the typical GTI, DSG, Golf R, S3, all those kind of cars, you really feel when you come to a stop. In fact, you can actually audibly hear it go into first if you got the windows down, and it's like a clunk, and it just feels a bit more jerky, whereas this is just super smooth. So if you're driving in comfort with this, it's really nice. In terms of like the infotainment system and all that kind of thing, I really like it. Actually, I've never really used BMWs much in terms of their system, and again, I wasn't always a fan of digital cockpits, but because all of the cars are doing it anyway, this screen is actually like a really good resolution. The contrast ratio is really good. I remember when I had when I drove a Mach 7.5 GTI, the screen, because of the contrast ratio was so bad, it kind of looked, the black bits looked grey, and it just gave off this really horrible feeling, and I just didn't like it at all. But this, to look at, is really nice. Like, the colors are really good, the contrast ratio is really good. I know it sounds like a very basic thing, but it makes a big difference. And in terms of this system here, there's all sorts of stuff on there. There's so many different options and menus and whatnot. It's got the drift analyzer, which is quite new in this car, which we're not going to be trying out today, but it's there if you want it. Whoa! You probably noticed I'm not taking this all the way to red line. This car is pretty much brand new. It's only on 3,000 miles to 2024 plate, so not absolutely thrashing it, but just enough to get a feel. I don't think I've driven anything that handles as well as this. Wow, what a car. And yeah, it is super impressive how good both the traction control systems are and also the adaptive chassis control as well. So right now, obviously we're in M1, the chassis is in sport, so not the hardest setting, which is probably for the track, but it's in the sort of middle setting. But if we go into comfort, so everything in efficient, everything in comfort, all of a sudden this just becomes a very nice daily driver. The throttle's not as sensitive, the suspension's softened up a little bit, and you really feel the difference. Like, some cars where they have like a comfort mode and a sports mode don't really do much, but this is a huge difference. And I think because it's got 3 separate modes, it makes a big difference. It's not just on and off. You've got full-on track mode, which is really tough, really stiff, really sensitive, and then you've got something in between, which is what we've just been driving in then, and then you've got comfort, which is really soft. So for a car that handles as well as this, as sporty as this, I'm surprised how comfortable the comfort mode actually is. Like, I would be happy to drive this every day. So yeah, they've really nailed it with that. But of course, on these roads, we're going to keep it in M1 and see if we can get past this Alfa Romeo Giulia, which would actually be a really nice car to test out as well. Right, we're at the temporary traffic lights. We've got the Alfa Romeo in front of us. Let's see if he wants to give this a bit of a run. No, maybe not. Alright, anyway guys, that's about it in terms of initial review drive of this BMW M2. Going to be making a few more videos on it coming out soon, so make sure you check out those and feel free to subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Ha